Welcome everyone to the June 10th, 2025 City Council work session. Our meetings are public and you're welcome to join us in person or by watching from the Council's agenda page, Zoom, YouTube, or SLC TV. We hope you'll continue to join us in whatever manner you feel most comfortable. This is a work session meeting during which there is no public comment. Please join us tonight at our 7 p.m. formal meeting if you'd like to share your comments publicly. We, of course, welcome your feedback anytime by mail to P.O. Box 145476, Salt Lake City, Utah 84114-5476, by email at council.comments@slc.gov, or via our 24-hour phone comment line 801-535-7654. Comments that we receive on agenda topics are shared with council members and posted to our website, slccouncil.com. The first item on our agenda is a fiscal year 2025-26 budget unresolved issues follow-up briefing. For this, we have Jennifer Bruno, our council executive director, and Mary Beth is also here available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few updates. First of all, thank you to the council and to the administration for all of the hard work that got us to a place where I think we're ready to adopt the budget tonight. So thanks to the council for digging into the information so quickly, and thanks to the administration for being responsive with information requests. So we really appreciate that, because then it means we get to move on. So I will start with some updates for unresolved issues, and we have updated the key changes document you'll see later to reflect these changes. So first I'll start with good news. The tax rates were finalized, and so we confirmed that the city will receive $1.36 million more in new growth than was in the mayor's recommended budget. In addition, excuse me, we confirmed that the judgment levy is $482,000 more than is in the mayor's recommended budget. And so based on the council's straw poll last week, staff has updated key changes to reflect that those are going to fund balance, essentially using less fund balance to balance the budget. I did a quick calculation to see what that brings our fund balance to, and it would bring our fund balance to 13.32%. So back up to above that 13% level, which isn't a huge cushion for the upcoming year, but at least is better than nothing. Just to confirm, though, we did offset some of those funds that came in for the mayor's, for the new growth with the $24,000 that the council added in expenses, which was $10,000 for West Side air monitors and $14,000 for art in 7 council districts. So you'll see those on the key changes document when we go over it later. There is a little bit of a hiccup this year that we discovered. I think I mentioned that the judgment levy for the library was folded into the cities. There was an interpretation made at the county and state tax commission that the library should be an entity under the city rather than its own taxing entity. There wasn't time to engage with the tax commission to reverse that decision in advance of this budget adoption. So for the purposes of this budget adoption, the library appears as a line item, just like the GO bonds appear as a line item, where they have their own tax rate, but they are sort of within the rubric of Salt Lake City Corporation. I think it's accurate to say that finance and even the attorney's office, after thinking about it more and discussing it more with council staff, see several maybe policy consequences from that interpretation. And so you'll notice in the budget adoption ordinance, there's a reference to council staff, city staff engaging with state and county staff to revisit that decision in advance of next fiscal year. But for the purposes of this fiscal year, we think we're okay in terms of ordinances that have been prepared for us. It sounds silly, but it's a paperwork issue, but it's a paperwork issue that comes with a lot of policy consequences. And so we just want to make sure that we're planning that with eyes wide open. Next, I'll share the conditional appropriation language for trails. I emailed the latest version to you guys just before this briefing started, so you should have that at the top of your emails, and I can also share it on the screen. I didn't know if you had any edits for that. or if you wanted to discuss it further. This will appear in the budget ordinance itself, the budget adoption ordinance itself.
Councilmember Dugan.
Jennifer, there was an earlier version of this. Is this changed much from that earlier version?
I believe there's one word that is different, and I don't know if Allison can identify that. I believe it was, instead of divert, it was changed to reroute.
No, it was changed to rerouting small portions of unsustainable segments. And actually, I also saw just 2 more changes. Do you want me to talk about them now? They should be very, very brief. Yes, I do get to decide, but it's like now is the time.
Yes,
Okay.
now is the time.
I would just change in under rehabilitation projects.
Sorry, which number?
Okay, sorry, on 2A, where it says closing and restoring social or redundant trails, I would just propose taking out social or redundant because that's kind of an undefined term, and a lot of people have hotly disagreed about what that means. So I don't think that it really it helps us to have that in there.
So what would the wording be?
Just taking out social or, so it would be closing and restoring redundant trails.
Oh, okay.
And then there was a should that I think should be a shall. I'm trying to find it though.
D
In
has a
item
shall.
A, there's a should, an item 1A at the very end, or towards the end.
Yes,
Should adhere to the maintenance recommendations outlined.
I would
So,
say shall.
Shall.
Anyone else?
I was good with it before, but I think those changes are good.
Well, now that you've taken out the word social, does it make sense to restore a redundant trail? Or would it just be closing redundant trails?
It is,
My understanding of the wording would be that you would
oh, that's true.
restore the vegetation on what was our social trail.
Yes.
Maybe you can close the redundant trail and restore it, never mind.
Can we ask Public Lands if they want to just clarify that?
I don't know if we have anyone from oh, do you want to speak to that?
Did,
Got it real quick with you.
okay,
I think
so, yeah.
really it's just getting it that we're not going to close trails until individual planning processes occur. And so I think you're right that we can remove social and redundant and just say we're not going to close any new trails that are built. I think the one exception to that I want to just make sure and put on record is that there are a lot of active trails being built today. And this has been something that we are actively closing, anything that is new from 2020, but anything that was existing prior to that, we are not closing until we do that additional planning.
Great.
So just to clarify, the sentence would read, this includes, let's see, unsustainable trail segments, closing and restoring trails. Do you leave restoring trails in there and replanting vegetation?
I would propose moving the word restoring and just say closing of trails.
Okay.
Okay,
Closing trails.
Yeah.
great. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Sorry.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
this will make everybody very happy about the trails, right? They've solved all the problems about and the confusion about
Oh,
trails, right?
definitely. Yeah. All we needed was some very careful wordsmithing, and all the problems will go away.
My support.
Yeah. This is,
So
you can apply this to many serious problems.
if there's a straw poll, we can get this language to the attorney's office so they can include it in the budget ordinance.
Okay, I will look for a straw poll.
Propose that we support the language as it was reviewed a few minutes ago.
Second.
Okay, I have, okay, yeah, everyone show your feelings. That is unanimous. Thank you.
And then next we have a legislative intent that, again, wordsmithing. Allison Rowland worked on a kind of condensed version that I emailed out to you guys earlier today and then just recently. So I didn't know. And then I think Councilmember Petro and Councilmember Young had a chance to speak before the meeting and had some other ideas about maybe making some edits to that condensed version. So happy to talk it through.
So I can agree to this consolidation the way it looks. The only thing is I didn't intend to create another level of bureaucracy, and the idea of a report feels like it does that. So Councilmember Young had suggested that this becomes part of the budget analysis rubric. Is that what we called it? I just don't think during budget season we need to write another white paper and expect that. These should be more guiding principles kind of things that we can check off.
I agree. I believe that, I mean, part of our job is to do exactly what this tells us to do. So it's kind of like telling ourselves to do what our job is. And
Yeah,
So-
to remind us to do the first thing first.
yeah, so
So
actually, is that the intent?
So if we make the recommendation that it's included in a budget rubric, that's a process I know that the city has used before. They don't necessarily use it everywhere, but it creates a mechanism by which to include those items that aren't establishing the requirement of a completely separate report that then somebody has to take the time to like pen and put together. So it's a more so integrating it into an existing process.
I support that. The line that I added was that last piece related to the impacts to taxes to those, fixed income families and individuals, and that's a piece that I'm very, interested in exploring tools to help members of our community to access, much like the circuit breaker, or similar tools that the county has to offset some of the taxes. So I support the language as is. I feel like it accomplishes a lot of our intents. But I really want to maybe even put it on the record that I would like us to, every time that we're increasing fees and talking about taxes in general, that we can think about, those members of our community that are completely on a fixed income, and there is almost no escape, and to try to address that. And I hope that every time that we talk about those, maybe we come up with a side amount of money on a program to do that. But that seems like a lot of steps, they attach. But I want to start thinking about it. So thank you.
Jennifer, so do we need to come up with the wording on D right now, or are we just gonna?
we would need to, if you want to have this as a legislative intent, we would need to come up with the wording right now.
Okay,
And I don't know if you saw, I edited report to say an evaluation rubric or matrix. So if you look on the screen, updated.
Oh, I'm looking at my computer.
Does that match kind of what you're thinking?
yes.
Okay.
So but that's like different than what we have here in this printout, right?
I don't know what you have in the printout.
In the
Oh, are
printout,
you looking
it's-
at the motion sheet?
Yeah,
The motion sheet is probably the most out of date.
Most out of date?
Yes,
Okay.
because the legislative intent has been evolving even as of today.
Yes. Okay.
So-
Excellent.
Yes, so the one I emailed you earlier today and then just before this discussion is like the latest language.
Got it. Okay. Then in that
And then
case,
that's what's on the
yes.
screen.
Great. I'm great. Yeah. I
Okay.
feel like this is good.
I'd like to straw poll us accepting this one.
All right. That's unanimous.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, so I will stop sharing this, and then the last thing we can go over, and if Kira's in a spot to share the screen, just to orient you guys to our lovely motion sheet, our giant paper. I think you guys have all been through this before, and so hopefully it's not too confusing, but because there are several motions, we wanted to just make sure to orient you guys. So motion number 1 adopts the library fund budget. Motion number 2 adopts the city budget, except the library and CIP. I think in future years, the reason that we had a separate ordinance for the library fund is that it used to be a separate taxing entity, and we weren't informed that it's not separate until it was too late to change the ordinances because we'd already had public hearings. I think legally, we're probably still sound, but just to kind of close the loop on those ordinances, we still are recommending these motions.
Mr. Chair.
So the city budget, except the library, is motion number 2.
Okay. We have a question.
Just related to the library, and maybe I'm bringing the baggage of 2 years ago with issues related to the library board approving changes that they didn't have the authority to approve, and then coming back to us after the fact to debate those, and now recently finding out that the library, might have found out information ahead of time about this consolidation of this line item from the tax entity. I hope that maybe we can put on the record that I would like additional coordination between the finance department, the council, and the library, whomever is in their side, and the attorney's office, to clarify the roles and regulations and responsibilities related to the tax entities. So I think is key to minimize conflict. We are in a good place, but it could have been bad if the numbers would have been reversed. And I'm concerned about that since it seems to be a trend. So I would like us to maybe make that case that those meetings need to happen and soon.
Thank you. And I think I should have said this earlier. We are planning, along with the attorney's office and the finance department, on requesting coordination with the state tax commission and county as soon as possible. So we're definitely following up with that. So then that motion number 2 is what adopts your city budget ordinance, which includes those contingencies. Foothill Trails contingency that we just discussed, that's edited. So the version, and that's why there's this big draft red, so that we don't get confused. The final language will be put into an updated motion sheet that you will have printed out at the formal meeting. It'll also have a continued contingency for funding our future. That's something that we've added every year. Excuse me, motion number 3 sets all of the tax rates. So that's the thing that funds everything. And as a reminder, you don't need to read items in black, but you do need to read items in red. So that's where it tests your number reading skills. So good luck. The motion number 4 approves part of the CIP fund so that debt service payments can be made as of July 1. There are also several other items that are related to CIP that are either in the CIP fund or funded through the general fund into the CIP fund that need to start, like parks, lands, maintenance, impact fee tracking and reporting funds, part of an FTE, and so that funding needs to happen on July 1. So that's why we ask you guys to approve some of CIP before the rest of CIP, where all of your projects are allocated, will be considered in July and August. Motion number 5 adopts all of those legislative intent statements we went through, and we'll update that property tax one to be what we just looked at on the screen. And motion number 6 approves all of the other ordinances. The one that it skips is the ordinance relating to Title II. And so you'll see in that red language that it approves everything except Title II, because you guys will discuss Title II further in July. So, super easy. No problem, right? Do you guys have any questions or?
Fair.
Yes, Councilmember
Is there
Dugan, or Mono.
Is there a similar motion sheet for LBA and CRA?
LBA and CRA do have motion sheets. I don't have them right in front of me.
Okay.
But we will have them kind of like we have them at the other, at your other formal meetings where they're kind of in a stack at your place. They're much less complicated. So they're just your single page adopting the budget as
Oh, great.
proposed.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't set tax rates for the CRA and LBA, and there are not ordinances like relating to MOUs and parking and all that stuff. So, yeah. Cool. I think we can stop sharing, Kira. Thank you. I don't think there is anything else to go over, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right, doesn't look like we have any other questions, so, and agenda item number 2 is being bumped to a future meeting. So that brings us to agenda item number 3, naming the Northeast Baseball Field at Riverside Park as the Neil Draper Field. So for this item, we have Brian Fulmer from City Council Office, Tyler Murdoch, Deputy Director of Public Lands, and then, let's see, where's Brian? Oh, he's on his way. Okay, great, thanks. Sorry, went from being very behind to quite early. Okay, and are you Ashlyn Larson? All right, thanks for being here. It says tentative here, so I didn't know if you were coming or not, so thanks.
So this proposal would name the Northeast Baseball Field at Riverside Park as the Neil Draper Field. Mr. Draper was a engaged community member and business owner who passed away in March of this year, and he was very dedicated to and contributed to Rose Park baseball, and which has had a positive impact on many of the people in the area. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Tyler and Ashlyn.
Thanks, Brian. The only thing I'd like to add is that the naming of major assets is one that comes to City Council, and in the 2022 Public Lands Master Plan, that was one of the key goals, is renaming parks and major assets to better align with community interest and to try and instill that community ownership of these public spaces. So these requests will probably start coming more frequently, and on public lands, we're looking to do this on a semi-annual process. So we're looking at September and March and bringing multiple renaming of major assets to the council. And so I think that information, you know, if council has items that they would like us to address during that 6-month period, we can bring those and do those in a one-off time semi-annually. So with that, that's all I have to add. Oh, and I want to just acknowledge Ashlyn Larson next to me as well. So Ashlyn has been with Salt Lake City Public Lands for a couple of years now, but with the addition of Maria Romero to Public Lands, we've had some increased capacity, and we're shifting Ashlyn's position to focus on partnership development for Public Lands, and that will be responsible for all donations, for friends of groups, for partnerships, and she'll be a huge asset. So in the future, you'll probably see Ashlyn's face a lot more during these presentations. Thank you.
Councilmember Dugan.
Thank you. I know a couple of years ago we had a conversation about renaming the airport after Senator Garin, and we had it's a major asset, but also a lot more larger and have a lot more impact than to the bigger picture, because it's an international airport, than a community baseball stadium. But they're both considered major assets, not like a park bench, which is a minor asset, which the mayor can just do on her own without our requirement. So I'm just, and our policy doesn't say anything about when we name them and who we name them after. But I'm just concerned sometimes that we quickly name something and then we have some concerns about the history of the person. I'm not pointing my finger on anything on this nature. I'm just looking at the policy side of renaming an asset. And if we're going to see a lot of that, how quickly we name them, how much time do we give ourselves before we name something to someone who's alive or deceased or anything else? Because I feel we could, in this time of day, this time of year, you could name something after someone and then go, ooh, you have regrets. So I'm not worried about this one. I'm just concerned about the whole precedence we're setting on the policy we have here for naming assets and how we vet the person that we're naming it. I mean, this is a community person. I mean, this is what the community wants. So I buy that. But I also go, how do we do that other places, and if there's a little more controversy on that?
Well, I'm
Question.
assuming if we're going to standardize the scheduling, that there probably will be something, because we talk about placemaking all the time, and we're literally coming up with murals to do that. But this is a really easy way, some low-hanging fruit for us to give voice to the community. So when I was at the Rose Park Community Council cookout last week, and I told them that it was our intention and that they would be invited, literally old people started crying because Neil was their friend. And the Rose Park baseball kids will be flooding us on July 8th. Like, it's just such an easy way for us to invite in. And I think you're right, like the caution needs to exist, but we're over here making complicated, philosophical, graduate school style, placemaking kind of things, when this is low-hanging fruit for us. And so, you know, as we move through this, I'd really love to see like a strategy that balances the concerns that Councilmember Dugan just brought up, but also just centers the voice of the community members who, you know, would want to make place, you know.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilmember Pui.
I think that the concerns and then the need from the community to highlight someone special, it's an interesting balance. I was just reading a document from 2008 from the City Council that you happened to pen back in the day, or at least I think I saw some of your name in some of the chain of documents, and I was trying to see the ordinance related to naming city streets and city assets and the evolution of some of that, because this question and this concern is not new, right? And right. We had it forever. Every time that we put any building or anything with a name, we are accepting their baggage in so many ways, and it could be amazing, important, wonderful stuff, but it could potentially also be some concerning. And I was reading some of the old ordinance, and I wonder if it's still there, that require some public engagement piece related to the abutting properties or people that are in the community, and opening up for the community to let us know, even if just in an email, let us know what you think, and basically saying, here is the thought, here is where you can send us feedback, and by this date we'll make a decision. Which potentially could make us aware of something that may be concerning. Hopefully, obviously in this case, I doubt that there is any, and he's a trusted and liked person. But just to make sure that we follow a process, I wonder if there is a potential to include something like this that gives us a little window of time. Also, an opportunity for the community to rally up around it again and show up, and maybe we actually throw a party about it, because I think it should be. And to this point about the placemaking, how we can highlight these individuals, the individual impacts, not just the name. I go to places all the time and I don't even know who these people are. And it would be nice to have a little plaque or something that says what happened, who was this person. And I wonder if that could be included as part of the process. But I don't know what the next step is, but I would prefer if there was a little window of time there.
Yeah, if I could respond to those, I think those are very good questions. Within public lands, we haven't done a lot of these. I think in my time, we've only done, I think, 3 or 4 in the last 6 years. As we propose kind of this semi-annual process, I think it would be good for us to come back and talk with the attorneys and really come back with a proposed process of maybe how we can alleviate some of those concerns. And we could do that in the September window when we come back.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I think Councilmember Pui's comments are well said because there is a process for this, and I think that's we should have something, especially from the this is a community area, but it'd also be nice to hear from the community on that and their support for it, and also elevate it at that time. But I'd like to see how that should follow something so that we just aren't going to take some loud voices in one spot to name something when really there could be a whole community back there that's like in turmoil over that person, but they're very afraid to say something. And I'm not specifically talking this, but I know of other communities that you could have some really loud voices to say this, and other people are like, no. They have they have a different feeling about somebody. So I appreciate that. I think in this case, this is a pretty positive dude.
I just don't think that there is a perfect process for any of these things, and we're never going to find one. I think that maybe just not for the sake of adding a ton of work to the department that is, we have a lot of thoughts about, the workload and, the amazing projects you're working on, the timeline of them. Mimicking some of the other ordinances we have to name things, the streets or the buildings, and just mimicking, since those are been revised and approved by us, it may just simplify the process. We don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel, but I doubt we're gonna find a perfect system for this. But I'm excited that the community is calling for this. I think that's a win for the community, especially on the west side, for someone that made a big difference there. So I hope that this gives a little bit of direction, even though it may not seem like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should have a policy too, but I don't think we should wait for it.
No,
So,
I'm not.
yeah.
Can I just say thank you? Like, I know I pushed really hard on this one, and I pushed for a really fast timeline, and I'm really appreciative. Our neighborhood is under duress frequently, and we don't predictably get to use our green spaces. In fact, some of them are currently quarantined because of the siege that we're under with public safety. So when we have a green space that is significant to people who actively use it, engage, maintain it, and they want to put a name like this on it, thank you. It really is significant. I'm not joking when I said some of my senior neighbors literally teared up and were excited. And I think I'm gonna have to make it a little party. We're gonna have to have some cookies because I think it's gonna be overwhelming on the 8th when you see, it's especially meaningful because of the green space issues we have in District 1. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Our next item is a board appointment to the airport board by, or for Jonathan Friedman. Is Jonathan here yet? No. Okay.
We can do announcements while we
Let's-
wait for him.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll skip to agenda item number 6, announcements from the executive director.
Okay. This is an informational announcement. It's a notification of the deaccession of the 200 West planters that are on the cycle track on 200 West. The mayor has approved this recommendation from the Salt Lake Art Design Board. The process is that the council has to just receive notification 45 days prior to a piece of art being removed. The recommendation is based on multiple programmatic priorities. including excessive or unreasonable maintenance on an ongoing basis, and that it has been damaged and deteriorated, and the cost of repair is disproportionate.
Where is this? What is this?
There are planters that are on the cycle track on 200 West, and there's some photos that are attached to your announcement. They're kind of big, round, somewhat short planters.
Oh, yeah, okay, those.
Mr. Chair,
De-accession of those. Yes, Councilmember
can I ask
Romano.
a clarifying question? Will the planters also be removed, or is they're just no longer public art? They're just infrastructure.
That's a good question. We can follow up with the administration unless they know right now.
I'm interested in that question because I also think of this as a bit of a traffic calming device, and so I would want transportation to weigh in on whether, even if they can't be maintained as public art, if the planter itself should stay there for traffic purposes.
We can follow up with the administration and see if they've evaluated that.
Any other questions about this item? Okay. Then we're back to Airport Board, and I haven't seen anyone else join us yet. So, do you know if he's joining? Oh, will be in person, it says right there. Okay, well, we can let's take a little break.
Okay.
And I'll just, let's say 10 minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And we have agenda item number 4, which is a board appointment to the airport board for Jonathan Friedman. Hi, Jonathan. This is...
How are you?
Yes, we're doing good. Thanks. Thanks for being here. So this is your time to tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what area of the city you live in, and what your interest is in serving on the airport board.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the mayor and everyone at City Council for considering me for this appointment. My name is Jonathan Friedman. I'm president and CEO of World Trade Center Utah. We spearhead international economic development. based here in Salt Lake City. I've been a resident and living in District 3 since 2003.
Wow.
And Salt Lake City is the economic heart of our state. And it's truly, with the Olympics, I mean, we are truly on the global stage. We work with companies in the city every single day, helping them grow internationally. We host inbound visits. We produce outbound visits, and the airport is at the heart of that. Everything. I've already been working closely with the airport in a couple of capacities, supporting the growth of air cargo. In fact, I'll be going to Chicago to look at Nippon's air cargo facility there and hopefully attracting them to our airport. And then I've also been on an advisory board at the airport for the last couple of years.
All right.
When we go out of the country with accompanying the governor or other state leaders, we brag about our capabilities. We call ourselves the crossroads of the world, and always at the top of the list is the brand new Salt Lake International Airport. We're so excited, aren't we all excited, that just in 2 days we have our the inaugural flight, a nonstop flight from Salt Lake to Seoul, Korea. Could not be more excited about that. And just so many great things are happening, and so much more that we look forward to.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so much for all the work that you've already done to help support our airport. And thank you for being willing to serve and represent the residents of District 3 on this board. Any questions? Councilmember Petro.
I get to serve with Jonathan on the Inland Port Board, and I have to say his insights are so helpful. When you talk about building an economy that works for people, that's the kind of stuff that Jonathan works for. When we talk about best and highest use, oftentimes in economic conditions, that means what brings you the greatest returns. Every time I talk about economic mobility and bringing in jobs, like Jonathan is the champion and he has the credibility so that when I say it and it's like a cute idea, he says it and it's a policy piece. And so I'm really excited to have Jonathan's eyes in another place, protecting our constituency and growing Salt Lake in a way that's responsive to what we care most about, which is people.
Right.
Very kind of you. Thank you.
Councilmember Pui.
No, I just wanted to share that Jonathan and the city and many of us interacted, several years ago, when the Russia invaded Ukraine, and Jonathan represented, as a consul to Ukraine, and he brought the community together to support the fight for freedom for Ukraine. So I'm very honored to know you, and I'm very excited to have you join this important board for the city. Also, more advocating for Salt Lake City and the challenges that we face, and hopefully your connections with state leaders continue to help us in partnership to solve the problems that we have in front of us. So thank you, Jonathan, for volunteering for this.
Thank you. I love the opportunity. If I get the opportunity, I'd love to have this opportunity to advocate for the city.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you again, Jonathan. Yeah, you're very qualified for this position, and so we're happy to put your name on our consent agenda for adoption at tonight's formal meeting. You're more than welcome to come, but you need not be present to win. Yeah, I think that we're all very fortunate that you're willing to serve us on this board and lend your expertise and your connections and the service that you are already providing our community. So thank you so much, and that's all we need. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I would be there in person. I'm in North Carolina this week, so otherwise I'd be there with you right now and tonight.
That's okay. Thank you. We appreciate it. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, council members, that is our last agenda item. So we will, this work session will be adjourned. The dinner is here, so help yourselves. Okay.